The city invested $10 million in treasury notes. By year end, it had earned $100,000 in interest, but it was not expected to receive its first payment until 90 days after the close of the year. The market price of the notes at year end was $10.2 million. What do we know about 90 days after year end? Is that soon enough?
No.
How many? 60. So do we care that it's going to receive $100,000 of interest if we don't get it until March 30th?
Next year, maybe.
Next year we'll care. What if it said we have earned $100,000, which we will receive in 5 days? Then we care. Because of the fact it shows 90 days, we're not going to mess with recording any revenues because we can't use those revenues to pay for current uses, right? We can't use that $100,000 to pay for current expenditures. Whoopsie. But what we can do is show that market value on the investments. Do you see how it shows the market value on the investment was market value of $10.2 million? It increased. So we need to show our investment of $10 million. We'll credit our cash of $10 million. And then we're also going to show investments of $0.2 million and credit our revenues from investments of $2 million.
So the $0.1 million in interest, we don't do anything with that?
$100,000 in interest, we can't. The reason we can't is because we're not going to receive that until 90 days.
Okay.
If it said we'll receive its first payment in 30 days, we can.
Okay.
Now, why can we adjust the value? And with GAAP, you can't ever adjust the value of something because you think it's worth more now than what you paid for it, or less for that matter. Why in this can we adjust the value?
Marketable, have you gotten to marketable securities though with GAAP? Marketable securities are a whole nother animal. With GAAP even, in marketable securities, you always take the fair market value of
Okay. So you have to adjust them constantly on your
at
books?
year end or at month end. You know, whatever your financial statement is for, say quarterly, the market value up and down. So if the market value goes down, you have to adjust it also.
Because they're liquid like cash, that's why you have to adjust it.
Correct. They basically came out, I don't know which pronouncement it was, but basically with investments you're allowed to take the market value of the goods because they're tradable. And the key is because of being tradable. It's like cash in that it's currently a tradable issue. Therefore, it is in a lot of ways like money because you can trade it on the market easily. Why can't you do it with a building? Because
some buildings are as good as cash. You could sell them, you know, if you got a popular spot that people are begging you to buy, you might be able to sell it today.
Well, think of this. Think of Texaco. I had a client who owned a piece of land down in Houston, right near an interstate. And the great-grandparent bought it years ago for $20,000. And it's sitting on today like $6 million. And they get rents on it and everything. But the books, because it was it was gifted before they died and everything. But the books only show the land, which isn't even depreciated, of a certain amount. You know, because that's what the original cost value was. With marketable securities, they allow it to be treated at market value just because you can pretty much trade it like cash. Stocks, you know, when they're really marketable securities, some things aren't really marketable, but this is truly a marketable security. That's why you're allowed to take market value. And even in for-profit accounting, you can. Maybe y'all just haven't gotten there yet. Or they might not talk about it until advanced accounting. I can't remember. Now, finally, in this one, with a lot of these homework problems, you're not going to prepare closing entries. With this one, prepare closing entries. The bottom line is, guys, everything we've already done, we're just going to reverse it. So if we have a credit to appropriations of $60 million up here, we'll just debit it to close it out. We're going to close out everything over into fund balance. Okay? Now, you don't close out cash. You don't close out those things that are on the balance sheet. You're only closing out those items that are related to the changes of revenues and expenditures. Does that make sense? We're closing out. Okay, so basically the closing entries are a credit to encumbrances for $18 million. We're going to show a credit to construction expenditures of $40, bond issue costs, non-reciprocal transfer to debt service fund, and the difference just flows into fund balance. And then as far as all the revenues and financing sources, all of those are going to be debited. And then we're going to close out our budgetary entry also to show a $1.7 million debit fund balance. I'll keep that there and let me know when you have gotten that. Can we move on? Now it's going to ask us, show us the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, and then the balance sheet. We see here our, excuse me, our grants of $8 million. Let me see. Do you see here we received $8 million from the city? We also see our investments of $0.2 million from our the investment from the treasury bonds. We show our expenditures of $0.1 million issue cost in our construction, leave us with a negative $31.9 million. These are just revenues minus expenditures. Then we bring in all of our financing sources and uses. Non-reciprocal transfer to the debt service fund would be a minus $0.3 million because we're sending it out. We've received in bond proceeds of $50.1, which gives us a change in fund balance of $17.9.
Is this something that's going to be on the test too?
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be on the test.
Right. I mean, the key here is yes. It's understanding how we're coming up with the numbers. If we look at the balance sheet here, we've got our cash, our investments, and then our total liabilities and fund balance of 18.2. Why do we show a restricted minus 0.1 fund balance? Those were those issue costs, weren't they?
Issue costs, expenditures.
Correct. Any questions on that one, guys?
Where do you get the 0.1 for the bond proceeds? I see 50 million, but where's the 0.1?
That's right there, the bond issue cost, you had to pay out $0.1 million.
So you've
You
got
need to add that into that.
bond issue cost 0.1, the
Oh, no, that's part of the expenditure. So
Okay.
you're listing it twice.
okay, let's see here. Our
Because you have it up in the expenditures as the issue cost of 0.1 million, but then you're putting it down in the other financing when it's not listed as other financing in the journal entries. It's just issued as an expenditure.
Okay,
Wait,
so
wasn't
we've
bond
got
proceeds itself 50.1?
No.
our other financing source, bond discount 0.2. Okay, let me look here, 60. We've issued 30 million of bonds at 0.101. So look at this, the difference here. Do you see how this one is at 30.3 million? Because there's a premium of 0.3 million. And then do you see over here that this one is a discount of 0.2 million? So the difference between the 0.3 million premium and the 0.2 million discount.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That makes
See, I thought it was
sense.
coming from the issue cost.
Thank you.
Sure.